All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations that are based off of one of the PowerPoint slides for one of the textbooks we're using for the class. It's what you see on the screen there, and that is Murach's JavaScript and jQuery 4th edition. I've down to the bottom here, we're in Chapter 19 going over how to work with Node.js. And we left off last time, we had run a couple of simple examples. All right, 2 built-in modules available from Node.js. 2 of them are FS, which stands for File System, and HTTP, our friend, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Now, what I want you to understand is those are available, which means that we get them, for lack of better words, for no cost. They're there if we want to use them. But, all right, but we have to basically require them into our program. What you're going to see in just a couple minutes is there's a bunch of other stuff, and that other stuff that they talk about, that we'll see some of these other modules, they're not built in, so we have to bring them into our program. And we will use something to bring them into our program that's referred to as NPM, or the Node Package Manager. You'll see that in just a minute. All right. So it says there the contents of a file named emaillist.txt. So we've got 3 different email addresses in this file. All right. And then we've got a script that's called read.js that uses that module. Notice how we use it. We require it. Then we should be able to read this out. Let's go through this example and see if we can actually do this one. So I'm going to come in here and first grab these 3 things. All right. We'll use the same one that we had open before, but I'll just remove everything that is currently in index.js. All right. So let's get rid of this. Come on. There we go. Let's create another file. And the next file that we create is supposed to be called, I'll let the clock, all right, I'll let the clock stop ringing. So this is supposed to be called email_list.txt. So we want to create another file. Oops. I don't know what this is even. We've got index. I don't need this. Don't need that. All right. So we're going to create a file called email_list.txt. There that is. And there's the 3 names that we wanted in there. So let's save. I should be able to close this. I don't think I'll need it for anything else, but let's keep going. All right, then we need a script named read.js. I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to put it into our index.js. It shouldn't matter. So there that is. Okay, so there it is. Now I'm going to come down here and again, clear, and we're going to attempt to see if we can run the file. So node index. There's our names. So let's break this down and take a look at what actually happened in here. We did have a text file, and all that is it's holding these 3 addresses. I could put me in there. So jpscott@rankin.edu. Jeff Scott, for instance, just adding another name. Okay. Then we come back to here, and we're telling it to use strict. We already talked about what that is. But this basically is making what's available in that file system module, that's making it available to our program. You typically make it a const because there's no reason to change it. And you use the require statement, which brings it in. If we were using HTTP in here, we'd say const HTTP equal require, then in parentheses and double quotes HTTP. All right, then we're calling the read file, which is telling it to read this. And if there's an error, throw the error. Otherwise, we don't even need an else because it'll throw the error and it'll stop, but just console log it. So let's see now if we come back and we run this again, if my name is now in there. There it is. All right. All right. Terms related to Node.js modules. Module and common JS module system. Okay. Two functions available. I already mentioned, the read file we've already looked at. There's also a write file where we could have written that back out then. All right. So here they're opening it up and they're writing a new name to it. So we could have done this same thing. In fact, let's do that. And we'll add my name that way. All right, so we've got that. And again, let's just add somebody. So let's add my boss. All right. I don't know if we had to go any further and do that last thing there or not. So let's clear. Oops. Let's try running it again. It says C. Corrigan was written to the file. How do we know that? Well, let's look at the file. And there it is. All right. That's a very, very simplistic way to show you some of the things that you're able to do with that particular module. Okay. All right. They talk about synchronizing versions. The reason that this could be important, or the reason that you want to sync, is what you want to make sure is that you're not, if you are writing to this in more than one place. So if I'm writing to it both from the editor and from the program, that they aren't bashing one another. All right. All right. This is known as function destructuring in here. Okay, we're going to get into that more in the AWD 1111 class. All right. Two functions available from the fs.promises API. All right, as it says, there's a read file and a write file. Read file reads the contents using the encoding that you're using. Returns a promise. A promise simply is something that's in one of three states. Either it's been accepted, it's been rejected, or it's in a wait state. The simplest example of this is the one I give students all the time is it's the first day of class. All right, and the assumption is that if you have paid for the class and you walk in there when class starts, that I or another teacher should walk in and start teaching you, right? That would make sense. So the promise that the school made was if you pay for the class, that you'll have somebody to teach the class. All right. Then, so that would be a promise basically accepted. If for some reason I was sick that day and somebody came in and said, hey, we got to start tomorrow, sorry, then it would be rejected. While you're waiting, you're in a wait state. There's more to it than that, and that's probably not the greatest of examples, but that's the one I'm going to give you. All right. So here's the example that they're giving in here. And now they're coming in and they're attempting, it looks like, to add Mike Murach. Well, let's grab that one. That's fine. First of all, let's come back into here and into here. And let's do that. Okay, so this will be Mike Murach, but I want you to see Mike Murach is not in here. All right, and I'm going to close this. So I'm going to come back into here, do a file save, and it says Mike Murach was written to the file. And there's Mike Murach. All right. Promises will be something that's very, very important that we will be spending quite a bit of time on in the AWD 1111 class. All right. Now, most of the rest of this, because believe it or not, we're almost finished with this lesson already, talks about NPM. And let's go out to npmjs.com. NPM is the Node package manager. All right. No, it's not nearest phase modulator. It's the Node package manager. All right. And for lack of better words, you can kind of look at it like this. And that is what it is, like I said, for lack of better words, is it's like a gigantic library that never runs out of copies of the books that it has. And you can check out anything that's in that library, and you can check it out globally where it's available to use for every project. But typically you don't do it that way. Typically you check it out locally for that project. All right, so if I came in here and I did a search, and I want to put in here Marvel Superheroes. Notice there's a Node package manager for Marvel. If I bring it up, it helps developers request data from the Marvel API or Application Program Interface. All right. So it says if we do something like this, we should be able to go out and grab different characters. Now, why is this important? Well, Marvel isn't important, but all of these pages, when you search for something, so let's say that I wanted to search for something to use to work with dates. All right, I can type in date, and it'll find a bunch of stuff. And in fact, the one date has pretty much been replaced with something called moment. If I go to moment, it says it's a legacy prod. Well, maybe I had it backwards. In most cases, you should use a different library. Okay, we won't use moment then. It doesn't really matter. The point is, there's the documentation, so I can click there and find out the documentation on it. I can find out when I start to look through it, usually there's a thing in there that'll tell you how to install it. They'll tell you the number of weekly installs. Well, you know what? It might be legacy, but if there were 16 million installs last week, people are still using it. All right. If I want to come in here and I want to find out something else. So let's say I don't want to use something for dates. Let's say I want to use something that I want to be able to log things. All right. And there's going to give me a whole bunch of things. I know that one of the more popular log tools in here is something that's called Morgan. HTTP request logger for middleware for Node.js. So I click on here. And again, 2 million weekly downloads, how I have to require it, what I have to do to install it, etc. And some explanation. All right, and typically there'll be usage examples in here as well. All right. So they are showing you right there, it says a module that's available for NPM. Now notice it's HTTP-server. It's not HTTP. So in other words, if you want to use that, you've got to do an install. All right. And when you do an install like this, there's different ways that you can do it. And they show you 2 of them here. The first way is more or less the old-fashioned way. It's legacy, but it's still supported. And that is npm install minus minus global, followed by the name of the module you want to install. All right, the newer way is to just say npm install minus g, so there's less typing. All right, and then it's HTTP server. Now, if you're using a Mac, you might have to do a sudo first to show that you've got login permissions. I'm not going to run into that because we're not using a Mac. All right. Now, if we come in here, we'll use that HTTP server in ours. And I want to just show you that if we come into here, all right, and we type in npm minus g, install minus g http dash server. Let's take a look at what happens here. First of all, look over here. We've got email list and we've got index, right? Now I hit enter. And it says it's failed. It's not in the npm registry. What it's expecting is that it's expecting us to come in here and do something. So let's clear. And really, we don't have a package in here right now. So I'm going to create one. So I'm going to type in npm init. And it comes up and it says, okay, what do you want to call this? Well, no demo, because that's the name of my folder. So by default, it uses that name. So I'm going to make this bigger so you can see everything. And I'll hit enter. The version, sure, it's version 1. The description, this is a Node.js test program. I don't know. Entry point, yep. Test command, git, there's no git set up with it, no keywords. It's me, and it'll ask for a license. Just use that one. Is this okay? Now watch what happens over here when I do this. It created something called package.json. Well, what the heck is that? That's the file that contains all of this stuff that we just put in. The stuff that's in here. Everything in these curly braces. How do I know that? Let's bring it up. There it is there. And there it is. Well, it was there. It's in both. All right. Now let's go in and notice in here what this looks like right now. All right. It's 10 lines long, 11 with the curly brace. So I'm going to close it. Now I'm going to put in again our npm install minus g http server. I'm going to hit enter. Now I don't get it. Oh, I did get an error. Oh, because I put sever, not server. See that? That's probably why it failed the first time. There you go. All right. Now it worked. Now what I want to show you though is I want to open this up again. And notice that what's in here now, I thought it would show it in here and it's not. Let's try another one. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, oh, it's because I used the minus G. All right, which meant install it globally. Now I'm going to close this again. I'm going to close that too. And I'm going to put npm install express. Not there. All right, and I'm going to put that right here, express. And I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to install another one of these modules. Why did I do that? I want to show you. It puts my dependencies in here. It didn't show the last one because I installed it globally. Since it's globally, it's available to anyone and everyone. But since this one was put in locally, it's shown in there. Now, if that doesn't make any sense to you, we're going to spend a lot of time on this in the AWD 1111 class. Okay? All right. So, I mean, in the end, with all this stuff, who cares? All right. Well, what we're going to end up doing when we run our programs is we're going to be typing in something like this, but you don't even have to type in that much. Rather than typing in http://127.0.0.1, which is a loopback address, I mean, it's just, that's our local machine. You can just type in localhost : and then this is the port number. Okay, right there. All right. A URL where you can use to display this, that's fine. We'll look at this example in class, but they go through that same task list if they build it as a Node application. All right. And that's pretty much it. So if that was very quick and if it confused you, sorry. Hopefully it didn't confuse you too badly.